Okay, everybody? You can hear me well? Did you have lunch? You're tired? Wonderful. Wonderful. So, I'm super excited being here. My name is Andy Schneider. I'm Field CISO and Mayor of Lacework. For those who don't know Lacework, Lacework is a cloud security company. And I will talk about what we do in a minute. And with me, we have Niels Kreft. He's Head of Cloud Center of Excellence at BioNTech. And with that, I will hand over to Niels, and afterwards, he'll hand over back to me.
Thank you very much. Nice to have you here. We are super excited to tell our story today to you. And yeah, Andy, I would give back over to you.
You would give back over to me? Yeah. Okay.
So, let's tell our story. And this story started exactly 1 year ago here in Las Vegas. 1 year ago here in the AWS reInvent, we were searching for a cloud security posture management solution in the cloud workload protection platform. And within our ecosystem, some people give us the hint to talk with Lacework. And we weren't sure, will they solve our problems? So we had this very productive meeting here in Las Vegas, and Lacework opened their treasure chest and showed us better features. And that was the start of a very good value-creating mutual cooperation. But we should talk about, or make a short side trip, who is BioNTech and what we are doing. We have a vision for you. Our vision is to harness the power of the immune system to develop new therapies against cancer, infectious, and severe disease. If we are going one step back about 30 to 40 years, the diagnosis cancer was nearly to be dead. Within the last centuries, the treatment evolved. But from a personal point of view within my family, I can say it creates still a lot of suffer. We from BioNTech, we want to tackle it. At the moment, we only have one product on the market. It's the COVID vaccination. But within our pipeline, we have about 30 different candidates, some against cancer, some against other disease like malaria, HIV, or herpes zoster. But who is BioNTech? And I brought you some figures. So we are a very young company, about 15 years old, and we were founded in Mainz in Germany. And you're seeing the figures. We had a very massive growth in the last years. 2 points I want to highlight. The first one is that we are a research organization. We have about 1,700 researchers and scientists to make the world a better place. The second thing is that employees from over 126 nations are working within our company, and 51% of these employees are female. To enable our vision I showed, we have within our IT organization a mission statement. We enable BioNTech's vision, the fight against cancer and other diseases, with digital solutions. And now you are asking, why are we here at reInvent? So this mission statement has 3 different consequences. The first one is that we have a cloud-first strategy. So if you have any new application, this is going into the public cloud if you don't have any good reason to be on-prem. The second thing is that we want to migrate 80% of our on-prem workloads by the end of 2025 into the cloud. But it's not just lift and shift, putting the old packages into the cloud. It's about application modernization. And the third one is that we want to onboard over 100 different use cases in light speed within the next 12 months. This leads us to the different challenges we have within the IT organization. The first one is about onboarding these 100 use cases. And many of you know if you want to onboard use cases and bring it live into production, you have to talk about compliance and security. The second point is that the IT security and compliance market is very competitive. So if you find the right persons, they want to have senseful activities. So don't waste their time. The third thing is that we're talking about a regulated space. So we call it GxP compliance and infrastructure qualification. For me, this is just a baseline of security and compliance standards. And you can take the processes and also the lessons learned we have to apply it to your company and your industry. I think in every industry you need security and compliance. Within our organization, we have about 1,700 scientists and researchers. They want to have the newest, latest, greatest stuff, and there is a high dynamic in. And this dynamic and compliance, that this doesn't really fit in a well way you can imagine. Furthermore, we have different cloud environments. So AWS is our premier partner, but we also have other cloud providers within our company. And we want to get a single pane of glass over the security, over our infrastructure and environments to see potential dangers. Last but not least, in Europe, we are a well-known company, and so some people would like to have some secrets from us. So we have a high exposure to unauthorized users. In the next 3 slides, I want to guide you through the different parts, how we solved our challenges. At the end of this, I will put together the different parts and pieces that you see the overall picture. The first thing we achieved was to change the approach. So if we are talking about these 100 projects, every project is using some AWS service. And I greatly simplified it. For example, project A with an elastic load balancer, EC2, and an S3 service. If we assume that every project has an average 6 different services, with this old approach, we would check every project and every service again, and again. So we changed it. We introduced the concept of a process of lean service qualification. So like in mathematics, you are pulling the services in front of the brackets. For the lean service qualification, we did it in an agile method. We introduced a Kanban flow with dailies to get it fastly through, and to get a reusable service portfolio. The qualification for the projects is still needed, but if you are using blocks or services from the reusable portfolio, you can refer to it and it will be easy for the whole process. So if we do it, and we have done about 70% at the moment, so it's not 50 at the moment, but it will be in the near future, we reduce the total number of checks from 600 to 200. So you see a massive optimization. The second thing we did was automation. And please don't read the process charts. We optimized this process, and we had a look through 2 points. First time, also the approach. So we said we have to do everything automatically, use infrastructure as code, don't make any manual deployments, And the second thing was automation with the ICD chains and Lacework, which also simplified and accelerates the last part of the process. This approach we took here is a shift-left approach. So you are writing your code. For the infrastructure. You check it in through the CI/CD chain. If the security baseline is met, it's deployed in our different environments. If it's not meeting our standards, you can't deploy it to the different environments. Furthermore, in our space, we are regulated. So Lacework is producing something like an installation log, which is compliant for our compliance requirements. And we can show that everything is in place like we want to have it. The last piece we achieved is continuous compliance. And Lacework has a very nice feature of continuously monitoring the desired state of the infrastructure. So if you deploy it, and we have a shift-left approach, we are sure that it was deployed right. But if someone is going into any console or making any changes, it pops up, it gets into the ticket in ServiceNow, it's collected to the account owner, and he gets the time 1, 3, or 7 days, depending on the severity, to change it back or have a discussion with our compliance and security department. At the moment, Lacework is covering 41 AWS services. But even better, we thought, okay, this is nice, but now we are audit ready on a daily basis for these 41 services. And to take an outlook, I'm very happy that Lacework is supporting us to getting new services on board and supporting the community. Now, putting the different pieces together, we optimized and restructured our process. You see it, all the green lights. And the first one was the approach. Through the approach, we get less checks, reusable qualified services, more speed, and less expenses. The second thing was the automation. We had an increase through the productivity, through our project teams, an increase of productivity within our compliance and security staff, the single pane of glass of our cloud environments, and support for developers how to get in reusable cloud services into production. Last but not least, the continuous compliance with Lacework. For these 31 services, we reached continuous compliance with the outlook to be audit ready every time. Although I'm standing here on the stage, I have to say that these results are made of a great team. A cross-functional, a cross-company team with very passionate people. And I'm happy that also 1 or 2 are joining today and are here in the session. To summarize it, we are not finished. But until here, we realized the read time reduction in average by 85%. And I think this result is incredible.
Thanks, Niels. So I will continue with the part, but I will take that number, this 85%. So when I joined, I come from a security profession. I'm doing security now for 24 years. I've been a former Lacework customer, but something that always impressed me was this almost obsession to reduce, you could say, reduce noise. Really giving back time. And you see that in that number. That's a very impressive number to bring down the efforts. And this usually means we do like this continuous compliance with BioNTech, but it's all about increasing the productivity. Security is a function that should help your business. It's not the main business of your company. So if you can give back time to developers, they can focus on the real things that matters for the business. So increase in productivity, decrease in wasted time. So looking at things that you already know makes, in this case, happier developers, but it also makes happier security teams. And that's actually a really important thing. I will explain why. So with BioNTech together, currently we focus, like Niels described, the let's say the shift left part, the infrastructure as code scanning, CI/CD pipeline integration, and the runtime posture. So your infrastructure, how it's configured in code, and your infrastructure, how it's actually running. So this is what we check. So this is like one of the first steps in a journey where you achieve better security in the cloud. What we want to look at in the future together is, on the one hand, looking at vulnerability management. This is a very critical space to do that. It's also a preventive and proactive task. And for me, that's, as a former CISO, more importantly, it's runtime detection. And I will illustrate runtime detection with an example, but first I want to explain a bit why it's important. So today, that's according to Mandiant. So Mandiant has been acquired by another large hyperscaler, but they still produce very good reports, security reports, and there's an M-Trends report. It's quite interesting. And they state that only 26% of European, so the global numbers are very comparable, but 26% of the European companies are able to detect an attack, full stop. Means 74% are informed by customers or the government. And we now live in a time, so I'm doing for security now for 24 years. Security is even older, but I would say that the whole industry has failed if we still are only able to detect 26%. That's not enough, definitely not. And this 26% means the company. It doesn't mean the security team, and for sure it doesn't mean the security technology underneath. So detection is important. Otherwise, if you go to your board, you invested money in technology, and you're unable to detect an attack, this will really raise some question marks. So, but why is detection so complicated and hard? So why didn't we solve that until today? So I brought an example. So here's Niels and me with nice sunglasses, so I still like them, like my kids. So I brought an example with salad and burgers. So if Niels prefers salad, and actually true, I prefer burgers. I had a wonderful burger before the event here. So if you take that example, in the past, we did everything with rules. Like a traditional antivirus is running with rules, like still modern systems run with rules. If you run, for example, a proof of concept with whatever security vendor is out there, if they run rules, it usually works well. Because in the proof of concept, everything is small. You don't run your proof of concept in your complete production environment. You take a couple of systems and make your proof of concept, and that works well. And you can make this is like just pseudocode, but you can write your code. Anyone who comes, if they like burger or salad, that's fine. On the other hand, there is machine learning. So machine learning is quite effective in detecting things, but you need more processing power. So machine learning is a more complicated task to solve, but with that, you could make a baseline for Niels and a baseline for me. So what do we eat? The problem is, this is a rare anomaly. There are other rare anomalies, but sometimes I eat salad. But that's rare. That's not normal. If I would take the real AI, so my wife, if I would order a salad, she would ask me a couple of questions. Why are you ordering salad? What's wrong? It's like if she wouldn't order a glass of wine, I might freak out because I already have 2 kids. But these are the anomalies that you might want to look at. And she sees that immediately. And machine learning can do the same. I'm not eating salad, so this would raise an alert. And putting in some questions, that's where machine learning is really good. If you look on the other side, so if you look at our rule, the rule doesn't work anymore. So it's a generic rule. Generic rules don't work. On a smaller scale, yes. On a larger scale, they don't work anymore. So this rule doesn't work, so we need to be more precise with that rule. It's no problem. We can make a rule for Niels, and we can make a rule for me. So some rule with salad in there, some rule with burgers in there, and also differentiating the identity. That's easy. You can do that. In a small scale, in a POC, this is working. You can tune that. If you think about a larger, complex environment, this will be difficult. So if we really think about there are more people, more identities in there than just Niels and me, we even don't know the identity, so we have to find out how they behave. So usually in a rules-based approach, either you have generic rules or you have to tune them all the time. And tuning means you need more people. And that's not decreasing the time that they have, it's increasing the time they invest in security. And it can really grow exponentially if you don't talk about use cases like salad and burgers, but you really want to tackle real security use cases. So writing a rule can be really, really complicated to tune that you catch everything. So that's why usually you have more rules and more generic rules that are not tuned, and you have more false positives. So you don't look at the rules anymore. It's called alert fatigue, but you don't look at them anymore. If you don't look at the rules anymore, you miss them, and then you are part of the 74%, where you have the technology in place, but you actually don't alert on it, or you miss that important alert. That's really the difficult part. Now, machine learning can help. So if we take that, let's take a container. The container is making a new network connection. That's Andy eating salad. So if that is happening, we take that, we ask a couple of questions around it, if it's looking really suspicious or not. And then we even go a step further. We take context from other parts, from our cloud security solution, to find out if it's really dangerous or not. So if my container is doing network connections that hasn't been there before, that might be malicious. If the container has vulnerabilities, it's more likely that it's really something I should take a look at. And if there are other signals somewhere in the system that are as an isolated signal, not important, but if they belong to that anomaly, they tell a story. And we call them composite alerts. But the composite alerts, they are usually, I wouldn't call them alerts. These are, in 90% of the cases, they are incidents. So if such a composite alert pops up, you are at that moment in the 26% of the companies detecting it. So if you take that and run, you can solve it before your customers find it out or before the government informs you. It's all about that part, and I believe that we are at a tipping point with, everyone talks about Gen AI. We also released the Gen AI assistant today. I think it's today, this morning. But it's the power of machine learning. That's the larger scale. The power of machine learning and behavior analytics can really solve the part where the industry failed for the last, for me, 30 years. Because we have the power of the cloud. In on-prem environments, it's way more difficult. We also have, like, I touched the vulnerabilities in there. So vulnerabilities are the second part that cause a lot of noise. So when I was CISO the last 10 years, in my last company, we had weekly around 50,000 vulnerabilities. Yeah, I can tell you that's a shit show. If you have to clean up 50,000 vulnerabilities, you don't want to have to do that. And no one likes vulnerabilities, cleaning that up. And imagine we did a lot of scanning and all these things, and we brought it down to 25,000. That's it. So you can sleep well because, you know, we halved our vulnerabilities down to 25,000. You can't get further. That's a reality where many companies are in. But if you run your POC, scanning vulnerabilities on 1 or 2 systems, it might be 50, 70. You think, oh, that's fine. That's looking really good. I can scan that, find that, and fix that. But if you scale that up again, you have that big noise, and you have to have teams just doing vulnerability management. Who is a vulnerability manager? Anybody? Okay, I don't say that you shouldn't like your job, but it can be really exhausting just looking at that. And one problem is there are so many vulnerabilities that don't have the right context. So we do a couple of things there. So it's, again, this idea of reducing the noise out of that, showing you the vulnerabilities that you should really care about. So the one thing is the raw scanning. You can do that with ECRs. From the ECR scanning, you get a raw list of vulnerabilities. These are the 50,000. The next thing is you have the scoring, CVSS, nothing new, so you know which ones are critical or not. what we do is we have an attack path analysis where we try to find out if the vulnerability, the system where it's on, like a container, if that one is connected to the internet, has internet access. Because if you can find that out dynamically, the ones that have internet access are more likely or more risky. So that's one part where we look at. So it's a higher risk that those can be exploited. The next thing is we use the typical threat feeds if exploits are available, that's one thing, or if they are exploited in the wild. Those are two differences. If it's exploited in the wild and you have internet access and you have the vulnerabilities, yeah, you should run. This is the system that you should patch first. We didn't have that. Like in my last company, we didn't have that information. So we had like random, like a couple of thousands of critical vulnerabilities. What shall you do there? Which one shall I fix first? It's not on here, but there are also sometimes vulnerabilities where no fix is available. So it's good that you give your developers a list of 5,000 vulnerabilities where no fix is available. So you do that a couple of times, and then they will just disappear. Like if you go somewhere with a lightning in the evening and you see this, oh, not cockroaches running away, but they just disappear. They don't want to see you anymore. You have lunch without people if you just hand over senseless lists. The more important part is what we also do. It's called package activity scanning. So we have that agent, and I always compare it with my laptop. My developers always say I should use Firefox, but actually I use Chrome, but I have the Firefox installed. And Firefox also has vulnerabilities. Of course, it's a way more secure browser, whatever, but I still use the Chrome browser. So even if I have critical vulnerabilities on my Firefox on my laptop, if I have medium vulnerabilities for Chrome, those are the ones I should fix first, because that's the one I use. If I use it, it can be exploited. For an attacker, it will be difficult to exploit a vulnerability if it's not active. So finding that out is not easy, but we find it out, and if you put all of that together, that's where we bring down the vulnerabilities from, depending on your use case and usage and application, down to almost like 90% down, 70 to 90% down. If I think back to that 50,000 vulnerabilities, it's a difference if I talk about 50,000 or 5,000 or 10,000. It means I need less people doing the same task. That's really a quite big difference. And that, again, reduces noise. Like I said, the information that this is active or not, we do that in runtime. So the context that we get from the one part. But the agent originally, and the main task is to feed the machine learning, to find out if there are network connections going on, if Andy's eating salad or not. So that's the main part that the agent is doing. But what we do is we take that information across all the parts of the platform and enrich the context. And that's the power that you have in the cloud. You can do that and enrich the context. And if I look back, if I would have had that technology, I would just have saved more money. Or I would have had my teams, they would have had more time looking at incidents. Because if you are overworked, and we don't have enough people, so we have a skills gap, if we are overworked, we miss that incidents that are out there, and then you are again in the 74%, not in the 26%. I will stop at that part, and because I could really talk hours about the differences there, but I want you to hand over shortly to Niels to give you some lessons learned and recommendations. And then afterwards, we still have plenty of time for a couple of questions and conversations. Maybe Niels, some of your thoughts on your lessons learned.
So we have 4 lessons learned for you and recommendations. And the first one is trying to automate everything with CI/CD chains. So if you do something manually, you will make failures at some time. If you have it automated, if you have it test assured, you can be safer. The second thing, if you have a security tooling like Lacework, integrated with a shift-left approach into your processes. And for us, this continuous compliance feature through Lacework was a real game changer. So continuously to know what we deployed and to know if we have any gaps, what is running in our environments. I think that's one major thing. Last but not least, everyone in the tech industry should know, but it's about people, people, and people. So you'd have to convince the people to change, getting new mindset, choosing new approaches. The processes and the technology, they are there. It will not be easy, but they will be handled. So I give over to you.
Thanks. I know Niels and I, we had a couple of conversations, of course, up front. BioNTech is, by the way, always looking for talents. So first look on our website, then look on the BioNTech website. So we also always look for good people. That's a war for talent, even if we are here on stage together. No, just go first to BioNTech and then to our website to check or ask Niels directly. The other thing is, I always recommend to try it out. So there is a free trial available in the AWS Marketplace. So one thing, we have a wonderful team of experts. They all wear that wonderful light blue hoodies. We have a cool booth, 688, to try it out. Don't just go randomly there. Take two things. So take the composite alert. Let them show you a composite alert, what it really is. It's really a difference if you see what it really is. And the second thing, you are working in vulnerability management, ask them to let them show you how we do package detection. That's really fancy to look at that. And let them really explain it, really make it hard for them, their job. So that's why they are there. We also announced a couple of other things. I didn't talk about code security, Gen AI, so there are many things that we also do, but to get back to the BioNTech case, it's for me that journey that we started 1 year ago. So for me as a former CISO, seeing a company growing and maturing in their security, that's the most satisfying thing for me. So that's really cool to see that with all the customers that take a different path and where we as Lacework can help. And it's not just Lacework, it's also AWS. So we have a very strong partnership with AWS, and it's like that combination with almost every customer that we have. It's more like a partnership where we try to really help making better cloud security for them, whatever it then really is. So for the ones it's more like compliance driven. Others have other business drivers that require them to do security. With that, I'd like to come to an end. You can scan these QR codes, they are safe. That's our LinkedIn profiles, so get in touch with us, discuss it with us. Go to our booth, really check it out. That's really cool. I'll be here until Thursday. So today it might be difficult, but tomorrow I'm free to have a conversation with you. The same for Niels. I think you also leave on Thursday.
Yeah.
So feel free to grab us. We still have plenty of time for questions. So if you have any questions right now, feel free to ask them. And then I'm happy to see you the next days, and I hope you can enjoy this wonderful event. Thanks.
Thank you very much.